Primary election season is right around the corner as well, so we asked voters, what do you think should be the top priorities for Texas's next governor? Well, in our exclusive Spectrum News Ipsos poll, none of the issues won a majority, but over a third of voters said they thought immigration should be the top priority for the next governor. 1 in 4 voters said stopping the spread of COVID-19, and another 25% said job and the economy. Education and crime came in at the bottom with 19% and 15% respectively. And to help us break down all of this is Mallory Newall, joins us now. She is the Vice President of Public Affairs at Ipsos. Mallory, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I broke down a couple of the questions. What do you make of the results we saw from the poll?
Well, thanks for having me this morning. I think this poll, we're about a year out from Election Day, right before the official filing deadline for the governor's race. I think this poll provides a really nice snapshot of the issues that Texans care about right now and the traits and the general landscape as they're looking at who they want their next governor to be.
And we do have another question from our poll for you. We asked registered voters who most shares your values. And about 31% of voters said Beto O'Rourke, while 26% said Governor Greg Abbott. Matthew McConaughey came in next, but since this poll was conducted, since he's announced he's not running, Allen West came after that, and then Donald Huffines came in with just 1% of the vote. So what do you make of the current political atmosphere here for the next year's election?
Well, that's a good point. I just want to mention that this poll was conducted in the days immediately preceding Mr. McConaughey's announcement that he's not running for governor. And that's part of the reason why we asked some questions more about the landscape, what traits are important, what traits do each candidate exemplify, rather than a straight ballot, because we didn't know if he was going to run or not. Now, someone who shares your values is pretty much universally important to registered voters in Texas. More than 9 in 10 said that that's an important trait for the next governor to have. And right now we're seeing that Beto has a slight advantage on that issue over Governor Abbott.
And and lastly, while we still have you, we asked registered voters here in Texas which candidate has the best chance to beat incumbent Governor Greg Abbott. And right now, Matthew McConaughey comes out on top with 40% of the vote. Again, like you mentioned, he's announced he's not running. The poll was done before that. But after that is Beto O'Rourke at 33% of registered voters think he has a shot as well. So based on this data, who do you think has the best chance of beating Governor Abbott, if anybody does, according to the poll?
Well, I think that's a great question. And our poll tells us that opinions really aren't fully formed right now. We actually asked that question in 2 different ways. One where we said who gives the Democrats the best chance, and one that says who just has the best chance, just to see if partisanship had anything to do with it. And when you say Democrats, it's actually Beto that rises to the top rather than Matthew McConaughey. But as you pointed out, when it comes to the issue landscape, when it comes to candidates who are perceived as strongest on these key traits, like sharing your values or managerial experience, there's not one candidate that's even close to getting a majority support right now. So I think that this poll generally tells us that Texans' opinions are still really in process of developing. It's only been a few days since Beto O'Rourke actually announced his candidacy. And, when you ask people who has the best chance of beating Governor Abbott, what we actually see underneath the surface is that right now, this is purely about partisanship. Democrats are firmly backing their candidate, Beto O'Rourke. Independents and Republicans are still kind of holding back and saying they're not sure. So I think overall, a year out, right now, Texans are looking for somebody who shares their values. They're looking for managerial experience, but opinions, there's a lot of room between now and the election.
Yeah, I think that kind of wraps it all up. There's a lot of time, a lot of room before now in the election. Mallory, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be checking in with you with more polls. Our exclusive partnership with Ipsos will continue over the next year. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.